One of the things that I know that people have major problems, and a lot of times why, and you've probably seen this too, why their exit out of the business is because of problems with contractors and all the expenses and the costs, and having contractors that are getting half their money up front and then they are off the job. Can you talk about some of the things, like maybe several things that you do to keep your contractors honest, to keep them straight, to keep your business efficient when you're talking about other human beings that are working on your property? What do you do to really control the contractors?
Well, when I take a new property, first of all, we do what we call a scope of work in my company. In my company, Williams Capital Partners, we put together a scope of work. We actually tell the contractors, we send everything out through an RFP process, and we take 3 or 4 different bids. Even my normal contractor that I may use all the time, I actually still take on other bids to keep that person honest with their quoting. So with the scope of work, it looks like all the different repairs that I may have to do on that particular property. I then send that out, and there's a sheet, very, very detailed. I mean, it tells them that this is the kind of cabinets I want, this is the paint that I want on my walls, this is what you're supposed to put in for my vinyl siding, this is the color. So it leaves the guesswork out of it. And that's one of the key things up front, because usually when you have a contractor, and you change things and change work orders, price usually changes. So up front, I pretty much know from start to finish what my product's going to look like, and here's the budget for it. They have to come in within my budget and my scope. We then sit down and agree on that. I have them sign a contract, and my contract is very binding in the fact that if they say the job is going to take them 4 weeks, I may give them, 4 extra days. That 5th day, I charge my contractors $115 a day for not finishing my project. So that's something that you want to instill in your business, that there has to be some penalty clauses associated with that. Also, they are independent contractors. I have them sign their independent contract agreements. They do fill out their W-9 forms with me up front before the first payment, and then also even in the very end of the project, I have them sign waivers of liens, which is very important. You don't want to go into closing and someone puts a mechanical lien on your property, which is very easy to do here in the Northeast. So we avoid that before I give them their last payment. We have a punch list before their last payment is as well. And also in the very beginning, we put together an actual payment schedule. We agree that so much work must be done before your payments are dispersed. So truly, it's actually a system of actually managing the process of my contractors. And that's really what we stick to. And I think as a new investor, you have to get into the motion of some type of system that can actually effectively monitor them legally of your contractors, to hold them accountable. Any contractor is telling you, I need half down, this and that, run away from them. Contractors that can't keep a clean work site, they're immature. And what we try to do at Williams Capital is really stay with the mature adults, we like to call them in the industry, and work with those guys. I don't go with necessarily the lowest bid. Lowest bid may not also be the case. I go with what's in my budget. If I know the quality work that's there, I know it's going to get done in a timely manner, and I can get the profit that I want out, that's what I'm going to go with, not necessarily the lowest bidder. Yeah, sometimes the newbies investors get themselves in trouble of, once again, you got to stick with that scope of work. You have to actually tell your contractor what materials to use, even to where I tell my contractors where I want them to go to. I have a relationship with certain supply houses up front where they're not getting, some cheap materials. You know what I mean? I want good quality product going into my houses. So I'm like, listen, that's something that we need to agree on. And some newbies get themselves in trouble not having the relationships with local suppliers, not being able to tell their contractors what they should be putting into the home, what type of material they should be using. Another problem that will exist with contractors is the time. The time of saying that a project may be like, say, a cosmetic, a $10,000 to $15,000 job. Well, that shouldn't take, 2 months. You're eating up your profit. I mean, a lot of investors, if you're not using your own money, you're probably using private lenders or hard money that's out there in the industry, which can be very expensive. So you have to understand that there's a daily cost associated with that. So when your contractors are slow or they take on other projects during your project, you need to know how to manage that. And one thing the independent contractor agreement will help you do that. The timeline will help you keep them in line to understand that, hey, if they go over that process, if they go over that time limit, there's a price to pay, and that you, the investor, you're no longer paying for that, but you're passing it on to them. And that's something that's really going to save you a lot of time, a lot of money. When they understand that they're dealing with a professional in the business, whether you've been in a day or 10 years, they really understand when they're dealing with professional people and they take their business serious versus, hey, this is a hobby. Yeah. And that's what you want to separate yourself, saying this is not my hobby, this is a livelihood.
Can you talk a little bit about you get the deal, you understand what it is that you want, you have located it, from actually locating the deal and putting a purchase contract on it to closing on it. What are the steps and how do you handle the financing of the property?
All right. Well, usually when I take on a piece of property, one of the first things I'm coming up with my exit strategy. I mean, truly, for any new investor, you have to look at the exit strategy first, and you have to realize that this is the profit I'm trying to make, but I also have to have my exit strategy. So if things don't go right, what should I do? Case in point, say I'm using a hard money type of lender, say like a Brookfield Financial, which is a national lender that's here today. You want to say, okay, if I'm buying, say, case in point, a property that it's after repair value, say it's $200,000. We know in the industry that we usually buy properties what we call MAA, which is a maximum allowable offers on property. Pretty much it's like 70% of its finished value. So we know that we can take a loan for about $140,000 as acquisition and rehab. So if I was going to buy a property, say at $90,000, I only can do with my financing and with the rehab have $50,000 to play with. So you need to understand as a new investor that the reality is saying, all right, if I want to make 20%, all right, I need to be able to factor in the 20% my profit, the 10% of the financing cost, the $50,000 worth of rehab, and the $90,000 purchase. That makes sense. That's a good deal.
Got it.
That's what we do every day.
What are your goals for 2007?
We're projecting $500,000 to $1 million net. That's what we're projecting. Pretty much, we'll rehab 30 properties, actual rehab them. I'm looking to probably then wholesale another 20, doing a total of 50 properties for the year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So 50 properties. You're talking about a house a day or a week. One house a week is what you plan on doing. Is the goal?
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, and it can be done. I mean, realistically, if you're buying, I mean, you have to buy 2 to 3 properties minimally every single month. And in order to do that, you have to put out tremendous amounts of marketing for the abandoned signs, your direct mail, other things of direct marketing. But it can be done. It's something that can be achieved. One thing new investors should understand that you're coming in the business the best time. With adjustable rate mortgages about to come due in the spring, this is the time to get in this business. If you're not in the business now, this is when you should be in the business. We in the business really understand that, and we're trying to be more cash liquid. I just got another deal in Massachusetts from a New Jersey bank. 2-family house. I paid $40,000 for this particular property. The ARV on this property is $177,000. So I'll put about $40,000-$50,000, or I'll wholesale it out. But it's my choice. So when you can run into deals like that, you can see the margin. You can be where you want to be financially independent very, very quickly. But you have to follow someone's system.